In a moment here on Radio 2, Alan Dell with Dance Band Days, while on medium wave you can hear the cricket scoreboard.
Radio 2.
Well, we go over now to Alan Dell, and I think you've got something a little special in store for us tonight, haven't you, Alan?
I certainly have, Hilary. Hello again, everyone. Well, this evening in our Dance Band Days, it's Sam Browne's evening. Let's call this edition number 1 because, as I remarked last week, I have enough suggestions to fill more than one programme. Also, at the moment, I'm not able to lay my hands on several of the records that have been requested, but maybe when we get around to edition number 2, maybe in a few weeks' time, I'll have been able to borrow them. So off we go, and we start with one of the suggestions from Julian Morell of St Paul Street, Tunbridge Wells in Kent. And in the past, he sent me a long list of Jack Hylton records. And as it was with Jack Hylton that Sam Browne first began recording, here from June the 27th, 1929, is that old standard, Am I Blue?
Telling you, am I blue? You'd be too. Every scheme with your dream done fell through. Was a time I was her only one, but now I'm the sad and lonely one. Lordy, was I gay till today. Now she's gone and we're through. Am I blue?
With Jack Hylton in June 1929, which, as I said, was the first band that he recorded with, actually almost a year earlier in August 1928. And the first title was That's My Weakness Now. Immediately prior to joining Hylton, Sam Browne was working as a drummer-vocalist with a small band in Stockholm, Sweden. How Hylton came to know of him is, I think, still a mystery that's not been satisfactorily answered, but thank goodness he did, because he brought back to Britain one of the finest singing and most prolific recording stars that we've ever had. Let's move on now to July-August 1930. Sam Browne had left Hylton in January 1930 to join Ambrose, but he obviously also had a freelance arrangement which allowed him to be available to anyone else. He was immediately in demand, and here we find him on the 8-inch Edison Bell radio label for which Harry Hudson was musical director. This record is for all the many who ask for the song Dancing with Tears in My Eyes, particularly Percy Evans of Tamworth in Staffordshire and Mrs. G. Heap of Blackpool.
Those who dance and romance while they dance, they seem so happy and gay. Oh, they sing while they swing and they sway. Somehow I can feel that way, for I'm dancing with tears in my eyes, 'cause the girl in my arms isn't you, dancing with somebody new. When it's you that my heart's calling to, trying to smile once in a while, but I find it so hard to do, for I'm dancing with tears in my eyes, 'cause the girl in my arms isn't you. The girl in my arms isn't you.
Sam Browne in 1930. As you can probably guess, the largest number of requests I have are for the Sam Browne Ambrose recordings. So let's see what's at the top of that little pile. Well, it's a request from Alan Rowland Page of Rochester in Kent for his 10-year-old daughter Catherine, who loves this tune sung by Sam Browne. I think father, who calls himself a 40-year-old square, what nonsense, is not a verse either. Amy and Sammy, if you like, on June the 2nd, 1932, with Too Many Tears.
To go to bed, I lay awake and shed too many tears. Your memory is bringing me too many tears, too many years. I wasted loving you, and as you know I was true too many years. I cared a lot, what have I got? Too many tears. I know I should have found a new love, and don't you think I didn't try? But I found out a number 2 love never seems to satisfy. I'll never learn to smile again and sing. I gave you everything, and in return, what did you leave for souvenirs? Too many tears.
Too Many Tears from June 1932. Aubrey J. writes from Eagle Lane, London, East 11, saying that Sam Browne was a friend of his father and he would like to know more about Sam. Well, Sam was born in Stepney, or is Ellen Street in Whitechapel. Anyway, on March the 26th, 1898, that was his birthday. He was one of 11 children and probably remained closest to his brother Morris, who was nearly 20 years younger than he was. After his school days, and here I paraphrase articles by Chris Hayes, who published them in Memory Lane magazines in 1975-76, Sam joined the Merchant Navy and became interested in drumming on one of his voyages to America. But he already knew that singing was his real vocation. He took lessons and learned to read music, which paid off handsomely when he was in great demand in the 30s and 40s, because he could sing an arrangement virtually at sight, which might have been the case when Sam recorded this song with Billy Merrin and his Commanders in January 1934. The song is Blue Moments, and it's a request from Bill Lawrence of Gateshead, Tyne and Wear. Blue Moments, Sam Browne with Billy Merrin. After the Merchant Navy days, the next trace of Sam was in Stockholm, as I've already mentioned, which led to Jack Hylton and then to Ambrose. And we return to the Ambrose catalogue now at the request of Norman Frankish of Stainton, Middlesbrough, Cleveland. He asks me to look out that superb Sid Phillips arrangement of Lullaby of Broadway. It's Sam and the Rhythm Brothers, recorded on May the 17th, 1935.
Listen to the lullaby of Broadway, the hidey-ho and boop-a-doo, the lullaby of Broadway. The band begins to go to town, and everyone goes crazy. You rock-a-bye your baby round, till everything gets hazy. Hush-a-bye, I'll buy you this and that, you hear a daddy saying, and baby goes home to her flat, to sleep all day. Good night, baby, good night. The milkman's on his way. Sleep tight, baby. Sleep tight. Let's call it a day.
lullaby of Broadway, a hip hooray and ballyhoo, a lullaby of Broadway. The rumble of the subway train, the rattle of the taxis, the daffodil to entertain, at Angelo's and Max's, when the Broadway baby says goodnight. It's early in the morning, Manhattan babies don't sleep tight until the dawn. Good night, baby, good night, 'cause the milkman's on his way. Sleep tight, baby, sleep tight, let's call it a day.
Marvelous arrangement of Lullaby of Broadway. Sam Browne remained with Ambrose from January 1930 until May 1942. There were some away times, 15 months in 1935-36, when Jack Cooper took over, and for a longer period, 2 years in fact, between October 1938 and November 1940, when both Denny Dennis and Jack Cooper sang the solos and duets with Vera Lynn, Evelyn Dole, and Anne Shelton. The next item, though, comes from the time when Sam returned after the first Jack Cooper period, June 1937, actually, when on a 5-tune recording session, Sam cut a couple of Gershwin songs, one duetting with Evelyn Dole, but this is the solo, an unreleased take, as a matter of fact, of They Can't Take That Away From Me. Not that it's much different from the issued version.
way you wear your hat, the way you sip your tea, the memory of all that. No, they can't take that away from me. The way you smile just beams, the way you sing off key, the way you haunt my dreams. No, they can't take that away from me. We may never, never meet again on the bumpy road to love. Still I'll always, always keep the memory of the way you hold your knife, the way we danced till 3, the way you changed my life. No, they can't take that away from me. No, they can't take that away from me.
Ambrose and Sam Browne in June 1937. We do have one more Ambrose item to end this first edition of the Sam Browne story, but here we find him with another of our top British bands, Lew Stone and his orchestra. Incidentally, I think it's generally agreed that Sam Browne was the most prolific of all the great freelance singers of the 30s, Al Bowley, Les Allen, Sam Coster. Also, he had a much longer active recording career, some 30 years. And in that time, he worked with an enormous variety of bands: Billy Cotton, George Scott Wood, Sidney Lipton, Henry Hall for one session, Carol Gibbons, Van Phillips, Jay Wilbur. He was a valued member of the High Gang team, Primo Scala, the Squadronaires, and many others, including Lew Stone, as I said. And it's one of the less often played Lew Stone records that Bob Deal of Hampton, Middlesex, suggested. It's Over and Done With, and it was recorded on July 1939.
It's over and done with, don't give it a thought. It's over and done with, we've paid and we've bought. A moment of happiness, years of regret, a handful of dreams that we'll never forget. It's over and done with, hello and goodbye. And now that it's over, I ask myself why. It's one of those things we can never explain, but there I go dreaming again. I met some friends last night, they asked, were you all right? I didn't know quite what to say. I smiled and answered swell, but they knew very well my tears weren't far away. It's over and done with, a thing of the past. Our love was too perfect, it just couldn't last. And two hearts are broken, we'll never know how. But it's over and done with now. Over and done with now.
with Lew Stone and the song Over and Done With, which I think was written by Ross Parker and Hugh Charles. Nice song. As we return to Ambrose, well, forgive my not playing perhaps the expected records of things like Body and Soul. He played his ukulele as the ship went down. Home, James, Don't Spare the Horses, many others, I'm sure. They'll turn up in our other shows. And in edition number 2 of the Sam Browne story, I'll tell you about his sad last years and his passing in 1972. But now we'll recall Sam, and this is at the suggestion of Stanley Tom Evans of Newport in Gwent, in his dual role as singer and announcer with Ambrose.
Been listening this evening to Ambrose and his orchestra, broadcasting from the Mayfair Hotel, London. We are now playing our concluding item, Big Ben saying good night. And now good night, everybody. Good night. Bedtime's drawing near. 12 o'clock is striking. Tired eyes must go to sleep. Turn out all the lights. Say your last good nights. That's the end of dancing time. Listen to the midnight chime. Ding dong, hear his deep song. Big Ben saying good night. His watch keeping while you're sleeping. Big Ben saying good night. He'll watch o'er you, keep time for you till tomorrow's light. Go to bed, you sleepy head, for Big Ben saying good night.
Well, not 12 o'clock, but very nearly 8 o'clock here on Radio 2, and I hope all is well with you. Part 2 of the Sam Browne story in a few weeks' time.
BBC Radio 2. Radio 2.
You'll be listening to one of the world's greatest trombonists, without doubt, Mr. Irby Green, playing the Jerome Kern tune I Won't Dance, which kind of contradicts the title of the album for which it was recorded, Let's Face the Music and Dance. Irby Green, that's Irby, U-R-B-I-E, by the way. I get letters which say, Dear Alan Dell, how about this Herbie Green, you see, H-E-R-B-Y. Irby Green was born and brought up in Mobile, Alabama, and is to be found as a valued star player on album after album to come out of the best of the American recording studios. He's one of the most highly respected, always in demand musicians on any session over there, except that right now he's over here. Tomorrow evening he joins the BBC Big Band, conducted by old BF, that's Barry Forgy, and that's a lot that follows this show, by the way, and they're at the Orchard Theatre in Dartford for a concert that starts at 7:45. If you can't get to that, Irby Green and the Radio Big Band will be at the Guildford Civic Centre on Sunday, July the 1st. And to give you another appetite whetter, here he is leading this fine orchestra that he assembled for this LP in an arrangement of Baby, Won't You Please Come Home, recorded in New York in December 1957.
Thank you.